Hey guys! Today we're going to be talking about the African diaspora in the Netherlands.
Freedom is
The Afro-Dutch population of the Netherlands is less than 500,000 inhabitants, out of a total population of over 17 million. The majority hail from former and current Dutch colonial territories, including Suriname and the Dutch Antilles, which include Aruba, Curacao, Bonaire and Saint Martin.
From the 17th to the 19th centuries, the Dutch participated in the Transatlantic Slave Trade and were responsible for trafficking over 500,000 Africans.
The transatlantic slave trade brought untold wealth to the Netherlands through the trade of sugar, tobacco, cocoa, coffee, cotton and precious metals. In 1621, the Dutch West India Company was established, a chartered company of Dutch merchants which enjoyed a monopoly over the slave trade in Africa, Brazil, the Caribbean and North America. In 1634, the Netherlands captured the northern horn of the Portuguese colony in Brazil, marking the Netherlands' emergence as a key player in the transatlantic slave trade.
Their cultivation of sugar plantations had a ripple effect across the slave trade as other European powers ramped up their own sugar production, increasing the demand for an enslaved workforce.
The South American country of Suriname and the Caribbean island of Curacao off the coast of Venezuela were home to plantations and trading ports central to the Dutch slave trade.
The Dutch also recruited Africans to fight in their colonial wars. They enlisted over 3,000 Ashanti and Akan soldiers to fight as colonial troops in the Royal Netherlands East Indies Army from 1831 to 1872.
These men, known as the Belanda Hitam, Black Dutchmen in Indonesian, were deployed to fight in Indonesia during the Java War. As part of the negotiations between the Ashanti and the Dutch over recruitment to the Dutch East Indies Army, the Ashanti king sent his son, Kwazi Boachi, and his nephew, Kwame Poku, to the Netherlands, where they studied mining engineering. The Dutch Golden Age, a period which saw a flourish in Dutch trading, military expansion, science and art, was largely funded by the revenue from industries founded on slave labour. Amsterdam's picturesque historic centre and world-famous canal were funded by the wealth accumulated from the Dutch slave trade, although there is little acknowledgement of this today. Africans began migrating to the Netherlands in significant numbers from the 17th century onwards, as evidenced by the presence of black people in Dutch art, including the famous portrait of two black men by the renowned Dutch artist Rembrandt. In early 2020, the Rembrandt House Museum in Amsterdam hosted an exhibition called Black in Rembrandt's Time, which showcased people of African descent in 17th century Dutch art.
The Netherlands was one of the last countries to abolish slavery. It did so in 1863, after which many former enslaved Africans and their descendants from Dutch colonies migrated to the Netherlands in search of work.
There was also a significant influx of black Surinamese who settled in the Netherlands after Suriname won its independence in 1975. To this day, the largest African diaspora communities in the Netherlands come from Suriname and the Dutch Antilles.
Despite the fact that there has been a black presence in the Netherlands for over 400 years, racism and discrimination towards the Afro-Dutch community remains a contemporary issue. There is also a tendency to whitewash history and ignore or dismiss the impact of the Netherlands' colonial past and involvement in the slave trade.
To this day, the Dutch royal family owns a golden carriage which was originally given as a gift from the city of Amsterdam to the then monarch Queen Wilhelmina in 1898, 35 years after the Netherlands had abolished slavery. The carriage is controversial because it features a painting depicting enslaved Africans bestowing gifts upon the Dutch colonizers. Perhaps even more concerning is that the carriage is still used today in public by the Dutch monarchy, in spite of the degrading imagery which glorifies the Netherlands' colonial past.
Today, the Dutch largely consider their involvement in the slave trade a relic of the past, which took place overseas and bears little impact on modern Dutch society.
In 2002, the same year that NINSE was established, the Dutch monarch Queen Beatrix unveiled the National Monument of Slavery Past, in commemoration of the abolition of slavery in the Netherlands on July 1, 1863. The three-part monument was designed by Erwin de Vries, a Surinamese artist, and is located in Oosterpark in Amsterdam. The three parts of the monument depict the past, present and future of slavery.
There was great controversy surrounding the unveiling ceremony, as only VIP guests were invited to attend. Many of the Afro-Dutch descendants of the enslaved Africans to whom the statue was dedicated had to stand back behind a fence.
One of the most controversial Dutch traditions is the appearance every Christmas of Zwarte Piet, or Black Pete in English. Zwarte Piet is a character often depicted as the dark-skinned companion of Santa Claus, who is based on the historical figure Saint Nicholas. Zwarte Piet first appeared in a children's book called Saint Nicholas and His Servant, published in 1850 by the Dutch schoolteacher Jan Schenkman. Every year on the 5th of December, it's a Dutch tradition to celebrate the feast of St. Nicholas, where children are given sweets and gifts. It's common at the St. Nicholas parade to see participants dressed as Zwarte Piet, in blackface with curly afro wigs, hooped earrings and painted red lips.
Those who campaign against the tradition argue that it's a blatant portrayal of blackface, historically popularised by the minstrel and vaudeville movements. They also argue that the children's book from which the character is taken was written at a time when slavery was still operational and racist colonialist attitudes prevailed in Europe. Those who defend the tradition argue that Zwarte Piet is not a caricature of a black person. His face is black from soot as he climbs down chimneys distributing gifts. They maintain that it is nothing to do with race or racism. Instead, it's a well-meaning tradition that's part of the Christmas festivities meant to entertain children.
Tensions between pro and anti-Zwarte Piet campaigners have escalated over the years and even exploded into violent clashes. Opinion polls have shown that support for the tradition amongst young people has begun to dwindle in recent years, perhaps reflecting a shift in popular opinion towards the character.
Over the past decade, there has been a gradual move to portray Zwarte Piet as sooty-faced and reinvent him as Chimney Pete rather than Black Pete, as a compromise between tradition and the taboo of blackface.
Campaigners such as Quincy Gabriel and Jeffrey Afriye have been incredibly vocal and active in their opposition to the use of blackface as part of Zwarte Piet celebrations.
Before we round off, I'd like to briefly mention some prominent Afro-Dutch individuals, past and present, who have impacted Dutch history and culture.
Two historical figures of particular note are the activists and World War II resistance fighters Anton de Kom and Boy Ecjohi. Anton de Kom was a Surinamese-born author who, during the Second World War, wrote for an underground communist newspaper about the terrors of right-wing extremist groups in the Netherlands. Boy Ecjohi, originally born in Aruba, was part of an underground resistance group that carried out sabotage operations against the Germans and assisted injured Allied troops.
Both men died in Dutch concentration camps. Anton de Kom passed away from tuberculosis, and Boy Ecjohi was executed by firing squad, aged 22.
Other Afro-Dutch public figures include the activist and writer Gloria Wekker, who wrote the book White Innocence, seminal writers Edgar Cairo and Astrid Ruma, scholar Ayan Hidsi Ali, TV presenter Humberto Tan, rappers Dope Boy and Busy, footballer Edgar Davids, and politician Letitia Griffin.
And there you have a bite-sized overview of the African diaspora in the Netherlands. I hope you learned something, and please do check out the other videos on my channel. For daily Black History content, follow me on Instagram at FreedomIsMineOfficial. I'll see you in the next video.
Freedom.